What's the common denominator in your life? Isn't that a great question? I love asking great questions. But what's your common denominator? Because for me, it's my 168. It's my weekly schedule of 168 hours. And what exactly am I doing in that 168 hours? And how am I measuring the productivity? And what plates am I spinning in my life? And which ones are more effective to be worked on now? We all get great ideas, we get inspiration, we get excited. But where the rubber meets the road is whatever you're dreaming up, where does that fit on your 168? And that's why it's so important to have things getting completed regularly. So you create space on your 168. Every time I complete a major project, all of that time on my 168 gets freed up. And that's my opportunity to step into something else with my life. But I don't want to overwhelm my life. I don't want to overload it. And a lot of times we do that. And sometimes we do it because we're coming from a deficit. We're kind of coming from stinking thinking. And that has to do more with dwelling on what we don't want versus dwelling on what we do want. And the interesting thing about your 168 is that when you really get down to it, it's probably the most ruthless piece of data you could ever compile about your life. And if you were to go so far as to schedule out a week and actually see where your time went, a lot of people are shocked, and well, they should be, because it's like, wow, my life is going right on by. Yes, it is. All of our lives are going right on by. Yet, when we can harness and leverage and move at a certain pace that's sustainable and functional, now we got leverage. Now we can move things. And we start to see the interrelatedness between all the things that we're trying to accomplish. Well, if I do this over here, that'll get 20% of that over there taken care of. Sort of like, well, while I'm out at that store, right down the street is the other store I want to go to. And that's loosely known as batching, putting certain like kinds of things together. But I'll tell you what I've found. The biggest thing in that schedule, one of the biggest things, is all the blocks of time that get piddled away. And you say, well, what happened? What was I doing? It's sort of like sometimes when I'm outside working in the yard and I'm going, and then it's like kind of time to wrap up. And then I just start kind of walking around and I'm really tired and I got to pick up the tools and put things away. And all of a sudden it's 45 minutes. I'm like, whoa. So what's helped me and many of my clients is to, instead of scheduling the day, schedule the day in the blocks, like 1 and 2 and 3 hour blocks. What am I going to do in the next 2 to 3 hours, kind of thing. And set your sights on something and see how much of it you accomplished. And then adjust yourself. Maybe you're ahead of schedule. More likely you're keeping up or even behind a bit. And that's natural because we always underestimate how long anything's going to take. And the way to compensate for that is to just build in extra time. If I think it's going to take me 2 hours to do something, I just call it 3. Or at least 2.5. So you got to work with yourself and you got to learn how you best operate. But those blocks of time, those little transition time, you come home from work and you want to get into doing something, but then you're going to, check social media. Check your emails. There's a lot of people in the business world, people that I work with, they have more to do than there's physically time for. They really do. I'm not trying to defend them. It's what's so. Based on the level of responsibility, the number of things they're involved in, they have to be so selective about where they put their time. This is very different than someone who's, say, retired and they have all the time in the world, in one sense. Now, they don't have much of their life left, physically, in time, but in the moment, in the day, in that day, they could have lots of free time. So it's an interesting kind of conundrum. But the people who have a lot on their plate have to be very selective about their time and where their time is going. And they have to monitor that. And one of the best ways to monitor that is cut it back into 30-minute, 1 hour, 2 hour blocks of time and say, what can I get done? And almost create not a hysteria, but a slight sense of an urgency. You know, it's Saturday and I'm off from work and it's a beautiful day and I got all these things I want to do. Great. Let's take a breath. What's the order of things? Where do you really want to put your time? Get into your flow. If you don't know what your flow is, you want to discover what that is. When I get up in the morning, I don't want to get pushed. So what do? I get up early. I spent my whole life not getting up early until, the last 10 years or something. And it was game-changing for me. Simply because nobody's contacting me at 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever. And I'm free to really process my life, plan out my day, think about how all the plates in my life work together, what's on my schedule. But every time I go to plan an appointment, I think about it. What time of day is it? What about traffic? What about what I typically do on that day? And because I have a sense of my structure on a daily basis, I make that work for me instead of saying, oh yeah, well, whenever. And they say, well, come at this time. And I go at that time, but it's the worst time for traffic, for example. It's like, I want to be proactive about that. And every so often, every month, every quarter, I have to schedule a couple of days for simply taking care of the business of life. And I have a calendar that I keep. It's very simple. It's each month of the year. And what are the typical things? This is when property taxes are due, and this is when the car needs to be registered, and this is when the homeowner's insurance gets paid. We all have those things. And if we have a list of them somewhere, we don't forget about them, and we can plan for them. And we can plan the financial costs, the time involvement, all of that. All right, since you've done so good, and you've listened all this far, I want to give you a treat. I'm going to teach you about a concept called spinning. And spinning is a wonderful thing. And sometimes when you get a little frustrated or you're a little bit overwhelmed, whatever's going on that way, I feel like I'm crashing, burning out, whatever. It's time for spinning. Here's how spinning works. You need 3 things. Number 1, you need the first place you're going to go. I'm going to go here to this store, run this errand, go to the bank, whatever it is. Second, you need to have gas or electricity, depending on the kind of car you drive. And third, you need to have a few dollars on you, or a credit card, whatever is your preference. And you go to the first place, and after that, you're free. It's like, I'll go to the mall, I want to go to this one store, but you know what? I'm giving myself another hour, and I'm just going to walk around, do some people watching, see what's the latest and greatest, see what else I can spend my money on. But I'm spinning. I have wanted to scratch that itch for like the last 2 minutes. Sorry, I couldn't hold out. So I spin. You need to spin once in a while. It's a great thing. Just get out there, and this is a day that's not about getting a bunch of checklist items done. On certain things possibly, but it's about exploring and experiencing. It's about getting out of the intensity of the structure, having a little randomity. It's very important. Very, very important that we have a little bit of randomity. It's a balance. It's ebb and flow. It's not just push, push, push. And when we have ebb and flow, when we have this sort of relaxed sense of going about things, when it's time to hit it, we're hitting it. It's what we call in Vitalogy, chop, chop. Everything's in place. Everything's ready to go. I'm stepping into it. I have a good attitude. I understand why I'm doing it. All of that's been figured out beforehand. This is a wonderful game that we're in, the game of life. And at Vitalogy, we really want to help you enjoy the game of life. And if you've enjoyed this video, we'd appreciate it if you would subscribe and then have yourself a wonderful day.